Click, click. Hello one, this is Take from bigheadtaco.com and I'm coming to you here at Revolver Coffee. Why am I here? Well, I'm here to review the Leica M Monochrom Typ 246. And the reason why we're at Revolver again is because it's raining outside. And so we were gonna shoot this video outside, but instead they let me come in here and shoot this video. So thank you, the Revolver team, for letting us be in here again. I've been wanting this camera for like 8 months. I've been bugging my local rep as well as Leica North America. So Tom, Eric, thank you so much for sending me this M Monochrom to review. A local Vancouver photographer by the name of Egor. He actually had, I'll put his name or link or somewhere in here, but he did a pre-production review of this back in October, November, and once it was released, he was one of the few bloggers and reviewers that had a chance to shoot with it even before it was released. I was really jealous, and so since then I've wanted to review it, so I finally have my copy. So I don't know why I'm smelling it, it's not brand new, but I had a great time shooting with this. I had the older M Monochrom that was based on the M9, and I also really enjoyed shooting it. One of the quirks about it though was that it had the same quirks as the M9. It had that low res rear screen, and as well, because it was black and white, you're shooting it in RAW. With the older M Monochrom, you could rarely even check for a sharpness on the rear screen. So it was like you're shooting film, and there was a kind of a charm to it. But now that I have the M240 based M Monochrom, I really like the high res screen. I actually had a great time chimping when I felt like I just really wanted to see if I got the shot, and I was able to chimp, but as well I was able to test the EVF, the EVF2 on here. I didn't think I would like shooting with it. I did in certain situations, but I'll talk about that a little bit later. But in general, if you buy this camera and you buy any Leica M, you really should be using the optical rangefinder, viewfinder, because you're paying a lot of money to avoid shooting with this. Okay, so shoot rangefinder. It's more imaginative, it's more romantic, if you can call it that. It makes it feel like you're shooting film. I had a great time using it. So overall, the M Monochrom. Now, basically, there's only other camera you're really comparing this to is the older M Monochrom or shooting film. Don't try to compare it directly to a film camera, because film is film. But if you want a camera to shoot monochromatic images monochromatic images, yeah, cut through, that's fine, yeah. Yeah, no, it's all right. Now you're in my video. So if you want to shoot monochromatic images in digital, you will gain higher dynamic range. And one of the things that people use the word dynamic range and exposure latitude interchangeably, and that in some cases it is the same, but in other times it's not. So can you blow out highlights easier on this than the M240? Yes. So if there are highlights and images, there's a mode you can go where it shows you where the highlights and the shadows, where you're going to lose your details, and you can even set where that point is going to be. I tended to underexpose this because then you can bring out the shadow details later. When we're talking about dynamic range, pick a certain range. Like for instance, if you're shooting hardwood floors or concrete floor, and within that floor, there's a certain exposure range. Now within that range, how much gradients of gray is there? And that's where you will gain the greatest advantage shooting this versus shooting an M240 color and converting it to black and white. Now, one of the things I enjoyed shooting with the EVF was the fact that you can physically see it black and white. Now, it's a bit of a cheat because, of course, I just finished preaching saying use the OVF. And it's true, when you shoot with the optical viewfinder, you're not getting depth of field, you're not seeing any exposure changes because you're looking through this window, the lens is here. So if you accidentally, so this is a 28 Summicron. Thank you, Lawrence, for loaning me this, and as well as the 35 Summa Lux. But if you have this on, I could still see through the optical viewfinder. And if you're not careful, bang, I just took a picture of the inside of this lens cap. Okay, so that's the thing about rangefinder. But it is the novelty of knowing you're only shooting black and white and looking through the EVF. So it was sort of fun, but there are a few things you have to worry about. And I'm going to show you one of them right now. I have a fast SDXC card, 64-bit SanDisk Ultra, so it's pretty good. It's great for even shooting 4K video. So it should be able to handle this 24 megapixel full frame sensor image. But look what happens. Okay, so this is using the optical viewfinder, turning off the EVF and the LCD. It's off, and I can shoot 1 picture, 2 picture, 3, 4. You can just keep on shooting, right? Now I'm going to turn on the. So there's a button here. This is how you turn on the EVF. So the EVF is on, which is nice. You don't have to hit live. If you want live view, you press this one here. Now you get live view. Again, you press here, it switches back, okay? So here's the EVF, and I'm gonna do the same thing. Ready? Shoot. Look at that. Now it shoots. I don't know what it is, but there is a lag. Now I'm gonna turn off the EVF, and now we're gonna just do live view here, and do the same thing. Let's take pictures. Shoot. See that? There's a lag. So for some reason, when you have the EVF on, the camera doesn't like it. It actually, I don't know what it is, because I have the, you know when you take a picture, you don't want to chimp. So when I take a picture here, you can see that. It just automatically just kind of blanks out. And see how there's a bit of a blank out there? So for some reason, it slows down your shooting. So if you want to shoot multiple pictures, or a lady walking down the street and you want to shoot her as she enters the frame and as she goes across, so you're shooting with the optical viewfinder, turning off the EVF and the LCD, you can go shoot like that. You can shoot across like that, right? With the EVF and the LCD turn, you cannot do that. So that's one of the reasons why you do not want to use an EVF when it comes to typical street photography, taking multiple shots. You don't want to use that. Focus peaking on the EVF, there's a button here that you press in the front, and that helps you zoom in. So on certain lenses like the 28, it's very hard to see what's in, especially from this distance. So from me to you, from the camera, I'm about 8 feet away. Now looking at the EVF, so let's turn the EVF on. It's really hard to tell if you're in focus or not. So if you press that front button, it zooms in, and now I can see the red peaking, and now I know it's in focus, and you can take a picture. So I found that shooting for critical focusing, so let's say you have a Noctilux, it's nice to have the EVF and focus peaking if you want to get exact focus. And I also, what a combination. Leica sent me the M Monochrom, and they said, oh, what lens do you want? And I said, oh, whatever you have. And I said, 50, 35. And at the time they said, oh, sorry, we only have the 90 or the 135. So being a street photographer, 90 is like shooting with a 400mm lens. It's just, I had a hard time. But with the 90, and I'll post pictures that I've taken with the 90, I actually did have fun shooting with it. And this is the 90 Summicron, so it's the f2. Again, I needed the focus peaking because, again, at f2, there's so little play in what's in focus that the EVF with focus peaking really helped. So those are the reasons why you would want to use an EVF, and especially not using the rear LCD screen. You get a bit more stability this way. And as a Leica shooter, I think you're used to shooting like this versus shooting like this. So I think there is a use for it. And one more thing, people did make fun of this. A few people, like, why would you ever use this? And I, in fact, also, up until about an hour ago, I'm thinking, I don't think I'll ever shoot this way unless you're on a tripod and maybe you're doing some video with this, and I'll show a sample of video as well. If you shoot video with this, do you need all the proper, I'm not a video guy, so the cages with the soft sliders, it's always on a tripod. Then you'll get really smooth sort of shots, and you're not doing run and gun type video with this, okay? There's no image stabilization. But I was thinking maybe on a tripod and you're shooting down, or if you're a tall guy and everyone you're taking pictures of is short, it's like a medium format type camera you're shooting down. But what I found is I use it for a low shot on the street. There's a gate behind me. I couldn't go any further back. I'm down here and I couldn't see the screen. I couldn't manually focus. And then I realized, flip it up, perfect for framing. So it does have a use. Would I use it every day in this mode? Probably not. But if I had the M240 or the M246, would I buy this? If I was invested into this system, I think it's a nice thing to have. The only problem is, of course, it takes up the shoe. So I like shooting with a flash for fill. So with that fill flash, now where does the EVF go? There's no place to go. And also when it's on, it's in I'm left eye dominant. So if you're right eye dominant, no problem, right? it's out of the way, but I'm left eye dominant, and guess what? This EVF is hitting the middle of my forehead, so it's actually in the way. You know, having this on all the time probably is not the best thing. Yeah, so I enjoy shooting it. So that's the EVF versus the OVF. Shoot OVF, please, the optical viewfinder. So I want to talk about is the battery. Now that might seem like an odd thing to talk about, but Leica, the M240 and the M246 uses their BP SCL2 battery with, it has 1800 milliamp hours with 13.32 watt hours on here. So when you shoot with OVF, the optical viewfinder, and you don't chimp, so you don't have the image coming up every time you shoot a picture, this lasts all day plus. Okay, and I have a spare one. Leica sent me a spare one, so you can go 3 days without, if you're frugal with how you shoot, and you can do power management as well. So this is a great thing. But as well, I didn't bring it with me, but the Leica charger. Now, maybe other brands might have it, or there might be third-party chargers, but one of the things I noticed about Leica is their charger actually tells you when the battery is 80% charged. And that's great, because if you are on the go, and you want to know about how much the battery is charged up, Leica always tells you at 80%, the light turns on. I think it's a red light. And then the green light is still blinking, telling you it's still charging. That's great. So if you know you're at 80, you grab it. One of the things about chargers is the charging slows down as the battery gets hotter. And once the battery's too hot, it charges slower. So having that 80%, so let's say it takes 3 hours to charge a battery. That 80% probably only takes about 45 minutes. The other 2 hours of it, or 2 and more hours, is to charge the other 20%. Charging up 80% is very quick, and being able to see that visibly on the Leica charger. So Leica, of all the things that you worked on, for some reason you focused on the charger and the battery, and that's actually a good thing. So if you shoot with the M240, I was going to talk a little bit about the ergonomics of shooting with this. It's like driving a German car. My mother-in-law has a BMW, and there's some things about German cars and Japanese cars, or maybe even against American cars. The Germans put things, at least for me, they put them in odd places, like unlocking the side doors on the BMW. It's in the middle, and that's weird. I thought, shouldn't you unlock the car doors from the side? As well, BMWs, they have a thing where the cup holders, like they're not on the sides or in the middle. The cup holders come out from the front. And it's a weird place to put it. So when I'm jumping from my Sentra into my mother-in-law's BMW, I'm lost for a little bit. And I find that same with Leica, not only the button placement, but as well as how the menus work, it's a little bit quirky. So if you stick to shooting with Leica, you're probably thinking, just like if you only drive BMWs, you're thinking, what are you talking about? This is normal. It's true if that's all you drive. And same with this Leica. If all you shoot is Leica, it makes complete sense. But coming from Ricoh, from Fujifilm, from Sony, from Canon, you actually sometimes will struggle. Like for instance, changing the ISO, okay? How do you change the, actually there's this big thing about me saying ISO versus ISO. To me, it's one less syllable. So ISO, that's 3 syllables, right? ISO, 2 syllables. It's a lot quicker to say it. So, but you know what I'm talking about, right? So the ISO or ISO, to change this on the Leica M240 as well as the M246, you have to keep the button pressed down, and then you can change your ISO speed, okay? If you press it and then try to change, nothing happens. So I think I even remember one of the reviewers, I think it was actually Kai, he was trying to figure it out, and I think he was trying to do it with one hand, and he couldn't figure it out. So that's what it is. This is what I'm talking about, the German quirks. Okay, so that's how you change it. Another quirk is if you're trying to delete a picture. So I took some fake pictures here, right? So to delete a picture, you hit delete, and then it says single or all, and you always pick single. Now to delete it, you assume you press the delete button. No, you actually press the set button. Okay, that deletes it. Now how do you get out of delete? You actually press the delete button. You think if you press delete, it'll delete. No, that's how you get out of. So delete button means you're going into delete mode. You press the set to delete it, and then you press delete again to get out. So you have to, so again, it's the quirks of the Leica. Once you get used to it, you get used to it. And after now, like I'm having this for a week, I'm used to how it works. So I'm fine with it. Because this is only shooting in black and white, and we talked a little bit about the dynamic range and exposure latitude, that a lot of cameras when I shoot on street, Depending on the camera, ISO 400 for the smaller sensor cameras. When they're APS-C, you can usually handle about ISO 800 during daylight. This base ISO for shooting on street in daylight, I was comfortable with ISO 1600. Very, very good detail at 1600. And one of the pictures I took, it was a really dark, abandoned building that was being renovated. I was shooting at ISO 12,500, and on most cameras with color, you're starting to, unless you got those specialized DSLRs or specialized mirrorless that they specialize in high ISO performance. But with this, the M246 even, when you're shooting at 12,500, it's gonna be very noisy. This camera, even at 12,500, took solid pictures. So even in a low light situation, if you're shooting at 3200, 6400, don't hesitate. Is there a need to go? I don't even know if you can even go down to ISO 100. Let me just see here. ISO 320. Okay, that's the base, which is coincidentally about what you should be shooting Tri-X at, is ISO 320. But 320 is the lowest ISO you can pick, and then it goes to 400. So is there a need to shoot at 320? I don't think so, because I think because you're shooting this, you're trying to get a film-esque look, and with a film-esque look, you get a bit of grain. That's why people like the Tri-X. So why shoot at ISO 320? Shoot at ISO 1600, 3200, 6400, and see what you're gonna get out of it. But I was super happy, 1600 during the day, and as it gets darker, 6400 to 12,500 ISO or ISO. So I had a great time. So that is what I would recommend. But overall, happy with the performance in low light with this camera and with this sensor and with this black and white technology. Image quality wise, I actually did a test with Lawrence. We did a little photo walk, and I swapped lenses, and I shot with the M240 and the M246. I'll post the pictures, you can see for yourself. But even just looking at the screen, you know what, that dynamic range, the subtleties, even like on the side of a car door, and you can see the way the light hits it and the subtleties. The M240, the color, it did not pick up on it as well. Maybe in post you can bring it out, but right straight out of the camera, you can even see on this rear screen that it picks out the subtleties. The dynamic range on this is amazing. And you don't have to work very hard to get, even like the puffy clouds, you know, and the shadow detail, you don't have to work very hard to get it. And so if you're committed to shooting black and white, and you know, for you film shooters, now this is, I think, 7,000 US, and that's like, you know, holy moly, that's a lot of money. But if you work out what you pay for film, and even if you develop at home and you print and you scan and you do all those things, you work out what you spend on film in a year, and you will see how quickly that adds up. So I'm not saying as a film shooter you should shoot the M Monochrom, but if you're committed to shooting black and white, so you love Tri-X or Ilford HP5, but anyways, you should like to shoot film and you like black and white, I would highly recommend to give this a go. Even the older, the M Monochrom, based on the M9, give it a try. They're expensive, but what you're spending on film and processing and scanning, long term, you'll actually save money on this. And I think used now, you can pick up the older M Monochrom for maybe 3,000 US, 4,000 US, and Canadian maybe like 5,000 Canadian. So it's a pretty good deal. This is 7,000 new, so hard to get, I think. They sold out very quickly at first. Shooting with this, it really felt like I was shooting with film. And I use the word romantic, and it is a romantic concept of shooting film, shooting black and white, shooting Leica, shooting rangefinder. But there is this romantic feeling in shooting, and now it's raining outside, so shooting out in the rain, it almost feels like James Dean is going to be walking down the street in his overcoat, and I'm going to just get that shot of him walking down. So it is very, I don't want to say emotional, but in a way it is emotional. Shooting this, it really felt like I was shooting film, and I really tried my hardest not to chimp. Because then when I got home and I opened up the DNG files, they're just spectacular. Review, and actually one more thing is, if you're used to shooting crop sensor or even smaller sensor cameras like Micro Four Thirds, and you go into a full frame, upgrade your card. I had my 16 gig card, which is fine. Even on a crop sensor camera, but I didn't even compress the files. I think I got 40, 50 pictures, and there were already some pictures on the card already. But that's it. The card conked out. So I had to run out and get a 64 gig SDXC card so that it could handle these raw files. So upgrade your card. 16 gigahertz on this will not do. Minimum 32. I would say better get a 64 gigabyte card, and that way you can shoot with freedom and not have to worry about running out of space. That's pretty much it. I think I've been talking too much about this camera. I really want it. I have to give it back, but maybe one day I'll get it. Or maybe Sony can come out with, there's rumors that Sony has been working on a black and white sensor. So Sony A7B, the A7 black and white only. How about that? I think that'd be cool. And also Fujifilm has the X-T1 infrared, which is not technically black and white, but it will shoot in black and white, so that's a cool camera too. So there is a bit of competition, and maybe Sony will come out with a black and white version. So till then, this is pretty much the king of digital black and white. Thank you, audience, for watching. Please like if you like these type of videos, and follow, tell your friends about this channel, and we'll come out with better content. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll talk to you again. I almost went to the EVF. I'm not doing that. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll talk to you soon. Happy shooting. Click, click.